Hi chums, it's a pretty miserable day here today. The temperature in here at the moment is about 70 degrees, but it's barely 60 outside. We're waiting for a big high to come in from the Atlantic, but it seems to be taking its time, although they've promised it'll be here tomorrow. But anyway, I kind of rushed through the videos yesterday because I wanted to try and get 3 videos out of one set of batteries. I haven't bought my new camera yet because Which magazine are doing a review on cameras this month, and it should be here any day now. So I want to see how they review camcorders. It's one of their specials this month. That'll help me decide what to buy. But the Kodak Play Sport is looking like it's top of the list because I've been very impressed by Jason's videos and the sound quality, especially. Another guy, Gary Entropy, uses a Panasonic, I think, but whenever I went to look for that model that he has, it's discontinued, and there's another one which doesn't get as good reviews as the one he's using, although it is a super camera as well. So it's a Panasonic and the Kodak are kind of top of the list at the moment, and then which magazine will decide. I should have had my camera by now. It's my birthday today. Yeah, happy birthday to me. I should have had the camera by now, but that's why I'm holding off. I was going to have a wee competition for you to guess what age I was today, and you could write down there in the comments place what age I was and guess. But then I thought to myself, I'd only get embarrassed when you all said 25 or 26. So I'm 53 today. That's quite a significant year for me because my father was 53 when he died. Now I was 21 then, and I thought 53 is not a bad age to get to, but when you're 53, it doesn't seem that old at all. So if I survive until the 9th of October, I'll have outlived my father, and that's quite a significant thing in your life because when you realise your father died quite young, it makes you just wonder, how appreciate how lucky you are to make it this far. But anyway, I want to tie a few loose ends up. The tomatoes. These tomatoes are in a mix that I made up this year, and the mix is 2 parts farmyard manure, which is this stuff here. Now this is composted farmyard manure, and it's there it is. This lovely stuff. It's that's cow manure there. I had a bag yesterday, and it had pig manure. It was made with, you could smell the pigs off it, and it wasn't as pleasant to use because of the smell, but texture wise it was fine. So I used 2 parts of that farmyard manure, which is a soil improver, and then 2 parts of this multi-purpose with John Innes. John Innes is basically a recipe that was designed by John Innes to provide growing conditions for seedlings and then for transplants and then for sort of potted plants. And I think there's 3 different recipes, and that's mixed in with the compost here. It gives a sort of a percentage of soil base, which is good, and there's wee stones and stuff in it. It makes for a very hardy but free draining mixture, and I like it very much. Um, there it is. It's really nice. It's really nice stuff too. Now we have problems getting peat here now. It used to be you just go and buy big bags of peat, no problem in Ireland, but unfortunately the guys scraped the entire surface off Ireland, and there's hardly any left now. So most of these preparations are peat based, so they're maybe 40% peat, and then other types of compost from brown materials and the brown bins and stuff, which makes very good compost, by the way. So 2 parts of this John Innes base, 2 parts of that farmyard manure, and 1 part perlite. Now, I've started using perlite this year. I'm not really sure why, but it does give good drainage. It also holds water, so you're not watering as often. That's a big problem I have, is watering, because I tend to give far too much water to the plants. So I'll come back to that in a minute. As for fertilizers, well, just use some Growmore, a small handful of that, like only a tablespoonful per pot, and a little bit, maybe well, 1 tablespoonful of fish blood and bone, which is good stuff as well. It's just basically powdered up fish blood and bones. It helps root production and gives nutrients as well. And then for feeding the tomatoes, I just use any proprietary tomato food, and the one I use is the cheapest that's in the store at the time. There's Fostergen, which is a good make, and Westland is a good make. But if I go into like B&Q, which is one of the big box stores here, and theirs is cheaper, I'll buy it. They're all basically the same. That's another issue I have. I feed too much. I've decided, sorry, I feed too much as well. So I'm trying to cut back on that. So how am I going to do that? Excuse me. This year I'm trying to ban my hose from the greenhouse. So what I've done is I've got watering cans here full of water. Two reasons for that. Number one, sorry, three reasons. Number one, it'll not give me as much easy access to water. So in order to do the plants, I'll have to sort of limit the amount of water, sort of having to keep filling the cans up basically. The second thing that does is it allows the chlorine to escape from the water when it stands. I think overnight is enough to get rid of the chlorine. And the third thing is, and I think this is quite important, it brings the water up to greenhouse temperature. And it means the plants aren't getting a shock when they get cold water put on them. Now that might be old wives' tales, I don't know, but I'm going to try it this year and see if there's any difference at all. And maybe I should take two tomatoes and water them with from the hose, but I don't know. I'll see how I feel about doing that later. It's hard to remember all the different things. You can see them with little labels here for pruning and not pruning and feeding and not feeding. So that's it. So I'm going to try and water out of the cans. The problem here is these are 10-litre cans, a bit heavy for me to lift at the moment, unfortunately. So these little 6-litre cans are easier to use, so I empty the big ones into the wee ones, and that makes the job easier for me. The eggshells. I was asked a couple of questions last night, and I'll just cover those now. Eggshells. Eggshells are supposed to help prevent blossom end rot when the tomatoes are setting. So I'm going to try them with that. Another issue for that is infrequent watering, and overwatering can cause blossom end rot as well. So the eggshells are in there. We'll see how does that make any difference as far as blossom end rot is concerned. And the banana skins. The banana skins were just some bananas I gathered up the week before I planted these. I let them sit in the windowsill in the house in a bag, and they went kind of black and brown and stuff. And I chopped them up small and put them in the bottom of the planting hole here. The bananas give loads of potassium, sodium, all sorts of really good trace elements. If you look at the video about the tomatoes, there's a comment below that gives a list of all the different ingredients in banana skins, and they seem to be like a real good all-round tonic for the tomatoes. So I put them in there to see how they do, and there's just one tomato has the banana skins, and we'll see if they do any better than the ones that don't. So that's basically the couple of things I want to tie up. Um, the watering again, yeah, the watering. The other thing too was the peppers here. I had peppers last year, and they came on really well. And there's a guy called Tar. I can't remember his Pine Tar, and he was talking about his peppers last year, and he told me that one of the problems he had was a lot of rain, and that spoiled his peppers, and that would make a lot of sense, because when the fruit started to swell in the peppers last year, I gave these loads and loads of water. Every day I was in with the hose giving them water, so I think that's a problem. Excuse me. And this year I have noticed that when I stopped watering the peppers, they did much better, and the ones that were kind of half dried out were the ones that performed best in the little trays. So I'm going to try and keep the watering down on these boys as well. Every plant in this greenhouse is planted in the same 50-50, sorry, 2 parts manure, 2 parts John Ennis, and 1 part perlite for drainage. And they're all in exactly the same mixture, so it'll give me some sort of idea of whether it's worth doing that again or not. So that's basically it. All I wanted to do was tie those couple of wee things up and show you what I put into the pots. Maybe I'm putting in too much. Oh, the other thing I put in is, I forgot to mention this. Whoops. Chicken pellets. These boys here. That's just pelleted chicken manure. Don't use fresh chicken manure, it'll burn the plants. But that seems to be very good. It can be used for as an activator and compost and everything. So maybe I've given them too much food, but we'll see what happens. Okay, so that's it then. All the best now. Bye bye.